The Leo Baeck Institute London is delighted to present an exclusive conversation with Sir Bernard Zissman, one of the producers behind the recent British documentary Theodor Herzl, The Man Behind Israel. As the latest feature for our film club, we sat down with Sir Bernard ahead of our free online screening to discuss the vision and process of bringing Herzl's story to the screen. So the film is presented by David Baddiel and features narration by Stephen Fry, two figures who bring both warmth and intelligence to complex subjects. How did their involvement help you tell Herzl's story with balance and accessibility?
Well, the proof is in the final result. We believe that Baddiel, who admits to not being a Zionist but is totally committed to calling out anti-Semitism, was impartial in his commentary, and who himself is on a journey of understanding Herzl as he brought Herzl to life. We believe that Stephen Fry's quoted Herzl's words without emotion, but fluently. We hoped the inclusion of two such well-known personalities would attract a wider audience, including those of a younger generation.
And so Herzl grew up in the cosmopolitan world of fin de siècle Vienna. How did you bring that atmosphere, the confidence, creativity and tensions of Central European Jewry to the screen?
Right. I believe your question refers to the timeline being ending in the end of the century, in this case the 19th century. Again, Baddiel tries to describe Jewish life in Central Europe at the time, explaining that life was really not bad for Jews, mainly because many of them had actually stopped being Jews, even though it was still difficult for them to climb the career ladder.
And so the film looks at Herzl not as a symbol or politician, but as a deeply human figure, ambitious, conflicted and imaginative. What aspects of his personality most surprised you during research or production?
Well, he had a very wide range of talents and abilities, all of which combined to make him the man he was. His ability as an orator, his legal experience, his showmanship as a writer for the theatre, and his success as a journalist, which normally made him known to the public, despite a widely held view that he was slightly mad. His determination, I mean this is the key, his determination, and despite so much opposition, demonstrated a characteristic to follow his unique ambition, which I think many people would have given up on.
So, and in British public life, conversations about Israel can be challenging. This film, however, feels more like an exploration of ideas and identity. How did you maintain that focus on history and character rather than on politics?
Difficult. I suppose what has disappointed me is that despite interest from countries on the continent and beyond, it's proving a real challenge to get British TV companies to screen our story, with what appears to be a reluctance to show anything about Israel, despite this being the story of Herzl and not the story of Israel.
And through Baddiel's humour and Fry's narration, the film makes Herzl's century-old vision feel strikingly current. Did you intend this as a way of opening up the story for audiences who might know little about him?
I suppose it has been a personal ambition of mine since writing my book, Herzl's Journey, to try and bring the story of Herzl to a much wider audience, particularly to a younger generation, many of them who know so little of Herzl's life, and that includes Jewish young people who know so little, and his contribution to Jewish and world history.
So, finally, what would you most like viewers, especially those interested in European Jewish history and culture, to think about after watching Theodor Herzl, The Man Behind Israel?
I think it's a key question. Very good. And I suppose it's how, despite Herzl's huge effort, and accepting that probably without him, it is very doubtful whether there would be a state of Israel today. His aim to somehow cure the evil of anti-Semitism seems to have failed. What has disappointed me the most is how Zionism has become so hated, certainly by those who do not understand how it started and certainly have not seen our film. The constant marching and demonstrations on the streets of London and elsewhere, some 2,000 miles from Israel, and the unbelievable situation of candidates in this country seeking election on a Gaza ticket only emphasises how right Herzl was. How those of us who have been Zionists for most of our lives, in my case since 1946, have no wish to harm or dislike Arabs, Muslims or others, but only want a safe home for the Jewish people who throughout history have been persecuted and murdered simply because they are Jews. And I think what I'd like people to try and remember is that Herzl died before his whole ambition was achieved. His legacy now sits on our shoulders and those of our children and grandchildren to continue the fight against anti-Semitism.
Thank you. Our heartfelt thanks go to Sir Bernard Zissman for meeting us. We hope this interview provides some helpful background on the history and culture that shaped Theodor Herzl. Please enjoy the screening. For more resources and events exploring the legacy of German-speaking Jewry, you can find full details on our website. Thank you for watching.